Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. And basically, I have my two good friends this afternoon with me, people that I really have a lot of respect for, and I know that they really will bring a lot of value today. So I have with me Gunnar Hood. He is from United States, Oklahoma City, and Gunnar, he's WSI certified LinkedIn trainer. And he has years of experience delivering different workshops and seminars around LinkedIn, social selling. Before establishing his agency, Gunnar spent 25 years in leadership roles with Fortune 100 companies. So, Gunnar, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And I also have Mark Jamison with me, with us today here. Mark has more than 20 years experience in sales and marketing. And Mark aspect on LinkedIn, he actually works with government of Canada to deliver LinkedIn training and preparing trainings and workshops. So we might get a little bit different aspect and opinion from both sides, right? And my name is Tali, and I will be your host for this session. So please bring your questions around LinkedIn, and we will try our best to answer all of your questions. So Mark and Gunnar, thanks very much for joining me this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Tali.
Glad to be here.
Okay, perfect. So how about we just jump right there? And I see first question here we have around the profile. Some people concerned that their profile might not look the best. What should they put on their profile? Because people sometimes get overwhelmed and they don't know where to start, what to put, how to best optimize the profile. So Gunnar, would you like to start and take this question?
Sure, I'll jump in, and I'm sure Mark has something to add here too. When it comes to your profile, I think that's the first step that anybody really wants to focus on in LinkedIn, because that's your personal brand. And the things you want to do is make sure you've got a picture that makes sense to your audience. I mean, if you're a dog trainer, it makes sense to have a dog in your picture, but if you're not, it's probably best to leave the dog out of the picture for now. You want to optimize that headline. You've got 220 characters you can use to say something other than what your job title is, because that shows up elsewhere. And then you've got an about section. And what's new this year too is a featured section, which allows you to pull content towards the top that might be of greatest interest to your audience. Even if you're not looking for a job, but you're using this as a way to professionally network, put things there that would be of interest to your particular audience. Make it about them and less about you. The less it looks like a resume, the more it looks like, you're out there just looking to network and have conversations with people, the more success you're going to have. Mark, what would you add?
Yeah, Gunnar, I think you nailed it. What I usually, tell people, especially when we're training on, setting up their profiles, is think about who your ideal connection is and try to mirror that, right? They have a want, they have a need, and you should have the solution. So, we all have our different ways for using LinkedIn, using the platform. I think one thing that you mentioned here, Gunnar, is, listen, I think the biggest mistake a lot of people make is they drop their CVs into LinkedIn and they call it a day. But, I think, for the most part, we should be trying to establish our brand, who you are and how you can help. Make it less about you and more about how you can help your ideal prospect. And I think if you really start putting a little bit of thought into that, you can really develop a strong LinkedIn profile. And as Gus mentioned, there's lots of different features and steps. There's areas where you can put your credentials and your education, but for the most part, it's not in your headline, and it's really, your summary shouldn't really be about you. It should really be about who you are and how you can help, and follow those guidelines. And I think you'll be able to set up a great LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, those great aspects. I actually have a question to both of you, right? Since Gunnar, you mentioned the picture. So would you accept connection requests from someone that doesn't have profile picture, or they have some weird pictures, right? Sometimes. So I personally would not. So I'm sure both of you probably agree with me, because it should look professionally, right? So it looks like if you were to meet someone in person, right? That's the important part.
It is. And there may be reasons why somebody's picture doesn't show up. There's actually a setting within LinkedIn that some people don't know about. They have to opt in so that their picture shows up for other people. So I'll take a look at their profile. If it makes sense for me to connect with them, I'll ignore the picture, because I realize that 98% of LinkedIn users don't really know how to use it best. So they could be one of those people, and they might need help, and I'm happy to give them that help.
Good point. Okay, so
I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. We have from Katie, and her first question for us here is: if you don't know someone, what is the best way to connect with this person? So if you don't know someone, so Mark, would you like to start and take this question, and then Gunnar, we will see your opinion about that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, for those who use LinkedIn, you'll understand that you can't just connect with everybody. But if there is somebody, that does come true that you do want to connect with and you don't know them, I think one of the best ways to do it is just personalize your introduction to them, right? There is a way within LinkedIn that if you want to connect with somebody, you can connect with a small intro or a message. So do that. Let them know who you are. I love it when people do that to me, right? It actually shows them that they took the time to look at my profile, look at who I am, and they gave me a reason as to why we want to connect. And when you do that, you do actually make a connection. It's hard to forget that person afterwards, right? I would say 90% of all my connections, that I do receive are probably fairly random. I just get a little alert that says somebody wants to connect with me. But, for those who actually attach a message to that connection, those are the ones that I typically stop. I pay attention to. I'll check out your profile, see who they are, and I'll make the decision at that point whether or not I want to connect. We're all going to connect for different reasons, right? If you're starting out on LinkedIn and you don't have a lot of connections, you may be connecting with a lot of people. I think when it comes to the case where you're like myself or Gunnar, and your 3K plus connections, we're fairly restrictive of who we want to connect with. We just don't connect with anybody. So give me a reason to connect with you, and that'll probably help you build your connection list as well.
I agree with that. Two other things that I think I would add is, one, take a look at who you want to connect with and see if they've been actively posting any content. If they have, it's a great way to start engaging with their comment or on their content by commenting on it, and commenting sincerely, not just, hey, great post, but actually using more than 5 words and thinking of it as if they were standing in front of you, how would you continue that conversation? What question would you ask them? Because you can do that through the posting system without having to be connected. And what you do as a result is you create mutual interest when you start that conversation. Just as if you'd gone to a networking session, never met the person before, but needed to start up a conversation. It's a great way to do that. The second thing you can do is you can follow somebody instead of opting to connect with them right away. They'll get notified about that, and that creates additional curiosity. So that when you follow them, you can start to see more of their content for a period of time and then figure out what to engage with. So if you're not sure how to start, and maybe it's a very high level person you want to connect with, try those things first and see how that goes before extending the connection invite.
Yeah. Gunnar, I think you mentioned a great point that always we need to think that online it's not necessarily you can do whatever, right? We need to pretend that we would speak to this particular person in person, right? So would we do it in person? If we want, probably it's not a good idea to do certain things virtually as well, right? Okay, so we have next question from Anne, and she's asking if it makes sense to refresh your profile on a regular basis or keep it to major changes only. So if you guys suggest ongoing refreshment, small changes, or just to change it when something drastic like work change or job change or something?
It doesn't even
I'll
have
jump
to
in.
be
Sorry, go ahead.
that. I mean, if you work for an organization, you're doing things all the time. And rather than wait until a major event to update it, why not update those things, when you've had results, post those on there. And, other things that we find too that are helpful is there may be something happening at your company that you're very excited about. Why not share that? And if you played a role in what happened there, be sure that that gets added somewhere to your profile. Your skill sets may expand, so you can expand your skills at the bottom of your profile. You may need to endorse somebody or ask them to endorse you. These are all things that you can do to update your profile and refresh it. And if your title changes or your job, responsibilities change, make sure those get updated too, so that you're pulling in the right type of audience at all times.
Mark?
No, I agree with Gunnar, and I think it's important to understand that anything digital shouldn't remain static. And I think it's important that we do update. Gunnar made a good point. Listen, as your career advances, you need to update. If you've changed positions, your title has changed, update it. But also test. I often
Looks like Mark is frozen, so Gunnar, we will so we will just go with the next question. I hope he will come back. So Katie has another question here. She's asking, on the other hand, if you already have a lot of connections but never get any business from them, what should you do? And sometimes we have connections, that we never been in touch or we never connect with them, right? So that's important question, I think, an important aspect to cover. So what would be recommendation?
So I think it's a great question, because the goal is you always want to build your network before you need your network. And remember that 95% of the people that have the opportunity to buy what you sell probably don't need it at that point in time. So the goal is, how do you stay visible to these people and offer value so that you're always visible? And when the time comes that they do need what you sell, that you're the first one that they think of, because you've added that value along the way. And that could be through posting content. And it's not just, here's the product du jour, but posting content that helps them get to know, like, and trust you. And that means some things about yourself, some things about your company, some things about the type of products, and more importantly, how those products have helped other people, how you've helped other people. So it's not about bragging, it's about sharing stories that people can identify with. That's going to really help you start to convert more of these prospects. And then reaching out when you see somebody that and you've got something that can help them, is let them know that. Don't come at it from a sales perspective, but share something with them going, hey, I just recently posted this and thought about the conversation you and I had a couple of months ago. Thought you'd be interested in this. Let them respond to that. Find a way to ask questions. Check in with them from time to time and say, hey, it's been a while since we last touched base. A lot's happened in the last year. How are you? How are you doing? And there's two cool things that you can do to do that on LinkedIn now too, using your mobile phone. You can use audio and video messaging to those people so that you can add the tonality in there, which can't come across in a typical message. And I highly suggest doing that, because so few people are doing it. When it shows up in their inbox, it's a pleasant surprise. But also add some text beneath it, because if they're in a meeting, they can't open it up in a meeting, but they can look at the small text beneath it and remember, I'm going to open this up when I'm done.
Okay, that's a great point, Mark. Actually, I would like to ask your opinion, but about the same question, but different aspect. So Gunnar mentioned that, great, you can post and share content, So your connections will see it, but we all know that not all the connections will see your content. So assuming, and Mark, you mentioned that all of us, like at least here, we have more than 3,000 connections. So let's say you have 5,000 connections, right? And you know that some of them you haven't been in touch for a long time. Maybe you don't even remember some. So what is your, Mark, suggestion how to re-engage with those? What would you suggest, to be in touch again? Because going manually, obviously, it will take quite a long time. And posting content, obviously, not all of them will see this content, right? So what is your take on this? Okay. Thanks, Mark. Looks like Mark, I just got message from audience that there is some audio issues with Mark. Whatever. I was able to hear Mark, but looks like the audience is not able to hear Mark. So next question I have is about profile. Actually, what is the most important thing I should do with my profile? So what the recommendation would be? If I don't have enough time or knowledge, Gunnar, your recommendation, what would be the most important part to have on the profile and to optimize it, obviously? What would be the top priority?
Sure. I think one of the first things to do is start by thinking about what are you trying to accomplish? Who do you want to reach and appeal to? What kind of connections do you want to add? Because you can tailor your profile to attract those type of people. If you're in sales and you sell something in particular, maybe it's in manufacturing, and there's certain types of companies that have a need for what you sell, then you probably want to tailor your profile to meet their needs. If you're looking for a job, on the other hand, but there's several different things that you can do, get specific about one of those things for a period of time and pursue, create the wording and everything in there that's going to appeal to the people that hire for that type of a position. You can always change it. Even if it's 30 days later, you can update it to appeal to a different audience. But the things that you want to focus in on, one is your headline. You've got 220 characters in your headline to say something unique that's going to grab people's attention. And the reason it's important is because when people do searches, 3 things show up in those searches: your name, your headline, and your location. And so if they can see something unique in your headline, they know that you've done something with your profile. If it just has your title, they may assume that you haven't done anything to your profile and they may move on. So it not only gives you a chance to say something interesting, but it stands out that you're investing in your profile.
Right. So just a side note here, I think it's also important to add your contact details, like maybe website or email address on your banner, because third connections, apparently they can see your contact details. So if in case someone would like to message you, it's a great idea to add any information that you would like to share for people for easier to be able to contact you, right? So Mark is back. Maybe we can hear Mark. Mark, what is your take on the profile? What is the most important part you would recommend? Yeah, looks like Mark, we have some tech difficulties. You know, technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, then we have a little bit of problem. Okay, so we'll jump then to the next question here. So let's say people who are in sales, should they be paying extra for Sales Navigator, or do you think, Gunnar, that having regular profile would be good enough?
Well, Sales Navigator certainly offers a number of great tools, and they're continuing to improve what you can do in Sales Navigator. But if you're not fully utilizing the free version of LinkedIn to start with, it might be premature to jump in and start paying for it. The good news is you can get a free month of Sales Navigator to test it out. But what I mean by not taking advantage of the free features is, are you using enough searches? Are you saving some of those searches? Are you taking advantage of messaging with people that you're connected with? Things of that sort. If you are, then yeah, it probably does make sense. And the reason for it is with Sales Navigator, you can search for more people. There's a limit to how many searches you can conduct in the free version of LinkedIn. And if you're actively selling and trying to reach people in your target audience, you're doing a lot more searching. But for me, some of the most valuable tools in Sales Navigator is the fact that I can save contacts and I can save targeted companies. And in the Sales Navigator newsfeed, the only thing that shows up is news related to the people that I'm tracking there. Whereas in my free version, it's everybody that I've ever connected with and then some. So it allows you to stay very focused in on those people, and it gives you tools to see which of your contacts in that audience have actually posted recently, who's had job changes recently. Those are often great opportunities or trigger events to reach out and talk to people and congratulate them on their successes and find out what they've got planned for the next 90 to 120 days, because it's possible what you do may fit into those plans.
Right. Yeah, the Sales Navigator, I would say it's like a mini CRM system you have, right, inside LinkedIn. So it's quite handy. So I noticed in particular recently, many people, when they create a post, they tag people, sometimes in the comments, and I saw long lists of tagging different profiles, as well as in the post itself. So my question at this moment for Gunnar, because Mark, I can hear Mark, but nobody else. It's only me. So what is the best basically way to go about tagging? Is there maximum or minimum of people that you should or should not? Is it better to tag inside the post or inside the comments? What is the best practices, Gunnar?
Sure. So one thing to keep in mind when it comes to tagging is a certain level of etiquette. It's, if you get tagged indiscriminately and, pretend that it's yourself being tagged by people, you don't really know them, you didn't really have much of a conversation with them, and they're tagging you around something, it feels very awkward. It's like, hey, they're trying to take advantage of me. And so there are some people who will tag, hey, I was in a room with 20 other people and they want to tag everybody. There's also a reason why you don't want to do that. LinkedIn algorithm pays attention to how many people you tag actually engage with your post. If you don't get at least 50% participation, it hurts your post visibility. It doesn't help it. So if there were 3 people maybe in the room that you had really good conversations with, and you think that there's a good chance that they will interact with your post, go ahead and tag them. But I'd suggest no more than 5. And, 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most in most cases is appropriate. As long as you have had conversations with them, they wouldn't mind being tagged. But don't just tag people to tag people, whether it's in the post or in the comments. Makes no difference, because it's really just self-serving in that sense. You're trying to get more visibility, but it can backfire on you because of the algorithm.
This is actually true as well for sending connection requests. Apparently, if you send number of connection requests and only certain percentage of people accepting your connections, so if this percentage is lower than 50% or 40%, it hurts your algorithm, again, works against you, right? So it's not very valuable to send tons of connection requests and only few people accept your connection request, because this basically will hurt your number as well. Okay.
And so there's actually something helpful that people can do is when you go back into your notifications, or your network, you can look at how many outstanding requests you have that have not been accepted. If you've got several that are more than 3 months old, it probably makes sense to withdraw those connection requests. There may be a few of those people you want to re-invite, and you have to wait 30 days before you can do that. But by pulling back the number of outstanding invitations you have that have yet been unaccepted, that helps you be able to send out more. And something else to know is LinkedIn recently imposed, although they haven't formally announced it, but there appears to be 100 connection request limit on a per week basis at this point. So if your previous process was, hey, I'm going to invite as many people as I possibly can, you're going to run out of connection invites each week if you were doing more than 100. So think about quality versus quantity and go that route.
Yeah, I absolutely agree about quality over quantity. I think we don't have any more questions at this point. So I will wrap our session for today. Thank you very much for everyone who attended, who asked questions. I hope the information was useful. Gunnar and Mark, thank you very much for joining me this afternoon. Mark unfortunately had some little technical problems, but it happens. It's not the worst could happen. So if anyone would like to connect with and ask questions with Gunnar or Mark, I'm sure they will be open to answer anyone if anyone will have questions. And thank you again for joining me today this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.